Where you go, I'll go. Where you stay, I'll stay. When you move, I'll move. I will follow.
I'm Sharon DeGrasse, and I'm married to Andrew DeGrasse, and I have 2 children. It's Judah, who's 5, and Emma's 3, and we're expecting our 3rd one that's due in January. When I was pregnant with Judah, with our first child, I was working all through the pregnancy, and I had him at the end of the school year. So we entertained the idea of going back to work after the summer was over. But summer came and went, and I said, I'm not leaving yet. So I took a year-long leave of absence, and then after that year, I said, maybe this year I'll go back. But I just couldn't do it. In Deuteronomy, it talks so much about training your children in the Lord all day long. When you walk along the road, when you sit down, when you stand up. And I said, how can I do that if I'm not with them? So we made the decision for me to stay home. It was some big sacrifices. Going from 2 incomes to 1 is a pretty big lifestyle switch. But we did it, and nothing could be better. One reason we're so excited about homeschooling our children is because Andrew and I were both homeschooled almost the entire way through school, both of us. And so we're so excited to be able to offer that to our children, because I'm a teacher, so I have a lot to offer from an educational perspective, but it's so much more than that. It's teaching them in godliness and in faith that they won't receive in school, in a public school. They can be with me and learn the scriptures, learn the Word of God, and learn so many principles that they can apply to their daily lives. We don't have to sit down at a desk to have Bible time. It just happens naturally throughout the day. The other day, I was in the kitchen and I was filling up a glass of water in the sink, and the kids were with me, and I just let the water spill over the glass, and I said, what's this cup doing? And Judah said, it's overflowing. And I said, yes, it is. What's it overflowing with? And Emma goes, with water. And I said, that's right. Colossians says that just like this cup is overflowing with water, our hearts are supposed to be overflowing with thankfulness. And so teaching them thankfulness and contentment is a huge part of what I want to do as a mom, because teaching them thankfulness, it eliminates a lot of that jealousy that causes conflict, and it also really ushers in a lot of joy, and that's one of my favorite things.
It's just a joy to raise a child that as they grow, they take on the walk with the Lord themselves, and they learn that the Lord wants to be their friend. It's not just their parents' faith, but they experience it for themselves. And I've watched Sharon as she's grown, and she really looks to the Lord as her refuge. And anything, whether it's being a parent, whether it's being a wife, whatever challenge she faces in life, she goes to the Word and she looks for her strength from the Lord. And it's just a joy to see her grow and mature that way.
The other day, I was reading the Bible with my children, and it was the story of how Elisha is with the widow, and she's saying that she has so many debts, her children are about to be taken away from her as payment. And Elisha asked her, what do you have in your house? And she said, I have nothing except a little oil. And I kind of just finished the story with the kids and then, put them to bed. But then I went back to my Bible later and I read it and I said, that's what I feel like so often parenting. I feel like I have nothing, maybe just a little bit of oil, just a little bit. And the Lord showed me in that widow with that little bit of oil had enough to pour and pour and pour until as many jars as she could find were filled, her debts were paid, and she had enough to live on besides. That I never have to feel full to the brim to be a good mother and to give them what they need. I have to just have that little bit and pour it, and it will be enough. One of my favorite things about New Covenant is that is where I met my husband. We were in youth group together. I was 16, it was 1998, and I just moved here with my family, and we met there, and with the exception of just a couple of years, I've been here ever since. And so I've always loved the Word of God. But at New Covenant, I've learned so many skills for really studying it and digging into it and just learning truth and so much revelation. And I lean on the Word of God so much every day, and just learning those skills that I have at New Covenant to help me study it has made a huge difference in my life. At New Covenant, one thing I would love is some more parenting classes taught by really seasoned parents who've raised children in the faith, to give support to those of us who are younger and still have real young children, and we're laying the foundation right now. I'd love to have opportunities to worship together with our children so we're not separated. Sometimes being a mom can get sort of monotonous. A lot of the things we do over and over, you know, making meals and cleaning up the meals, and it gets really repetitive. But if we can remember that Jesus said, whatever we do to the least of these, we do for Him, anything I do as a mom, even the tasks that seem the most mundane, are really for Jesus. So no matter what I'm doing for my children, whatever kind of service it is, I'm doing it all for one.